Man, oh man, did the Indiana Pacers need that one, but they get it. A win here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, or you can see behind me, sitting about where Mike Breen sat for this game, as the Knicks were in town and the Pacers beat them, splitting the series so far this season now at 1-1. Could be important for the playoffs. That doesn't matter. What does matter is the Pacers won and responded to their crummiest night in a long time. Friday night, played Charlotte, stunk, 83 points, their second worst total in 5 years. They weren't getting enough from their star players, and the Hornets beat them up by 20 points. It's hard to respond to a game like that, especially with more injuries mounting. Obi Toppin, we learned today, would not play on top of the guys they've already been missing. Looked like a tough one with the Knicks here, who've been playing better since their start to the season. They have star players. The Knicks were playing well for much of this game, leading early in the fourth quarter, but the Pacers responded all night and found just enough from the players they had available to get it done. And this is still a story about the Pacers stars, their ball handlers getting it done. The story of this game, and what could end up being a turning point for the Pacers this year, the guards, the young guards specifically for the Pacers, taking over. Bennedict Mathurin, career high entering the day, 34. That's not accurate anymore. His new career high is 38. 38 points for Bennedict Mathurin in this game. Felt like he couldn't miss because he couldn't. 7 for 9 from 3, 13 for 18 from the field, 5 for 6 from the foul line, 8 rebounds. They won his minutes by 16. That was a game high for Bennedict Mathurin. It didn't matter who the Knicks put on him, and the Knicks were cycling through all sorts of matchups, right? Because they always have one or two weaker defenders out there with the way they're trying to play with Towns and Brunson. So sometimes Towns was on Turner, sometimes he was on Siakam, sometimes on Jarris Walker. Josh Hart would rotate who he was guarding. Deuce McBride would rotate who he was guarding. The two stud defenders the Knicks had were routinely on a Pacers star, but because that was all changing, someone had chances all night, and Mathurin, when he had his chances to score, for whatever reason may be, within the flow of the offense, because he liked his matchup, because the Pacers ran a clever set, he took advantage, absolutely getting to the rim, drilling those threes, obviously 7 for 9 from deep's a wonderful game. They needed his 38 in the worst way. At times when they were wobbly, he stepped up. He made sure that the Pacers found a way to be on the scoreboard, stay ahead of the Knicks. And in the fourth quarter, when the Pacers were trying to put it away, he was massive. He absolutely was massive in that quarter, stabilizing shots, and was something Rick Carlisle said after the game, maybe the biggest rebound of the night, a putback as he skied in from the left wing when the game was, I think, a 7 or 5 point game. He extended it to maybe 7 or 9 at the time, and that was late in the game where it felt like the Knicks maybe could get it to a possession or two with a successful play. Instead, it was Mathurin with a successful play that really kind of flipped the momentum toward the Pacers down the stretch. They had a lot of it, but that really sealed it for them the rest of the way. That's a huge story. Career night for anybody is a massive deal. I think for the Pacers' long-term success, they'll be the most thrilled to see Tyrese Haliburton have, by far, maybe as a stretch, he was really good in Dallas, but I could say by far his best game of the season. Tyrese Haliburton, 11 for 18, 4 for 10 on threes. He hit 40% of those and was lights out on twos, 7 for 7, just like that game in Dallas where he was very good. Plus 9 for 11 from the foul line. 35 points for Tyrese Haliburton to go with 14 assists. That was the star that carried the Pacers through the start of last season. The guy who was a no-doubt All-NBA player for much of last season before his injury. Looked fantastic. I wrote a story earlier in the day before the game about Tyrese Haliburton, his slow start, how he had characterized it, how others had characterized it. A lot of numbers that made me kind of think, yeah, he'll probably get out of this, but is certainly not playing well, and they need him to be better. Boy, oh boy, was he. Sensational all night, right? All night for this one. He had a one-legged runner, 3, which is a sign that he was feeling it. He was willing to get to that step back to get open from deep. 10 threes is obviously a big deal, just in the terms of a raw attempt number. I think that might be the most important number for him in this game. At times grimacing, walking around, right? It's still dealing with whatever the pad is on the bench for his back or hip or lower back or whatever it may be. It's hard to really say. But regardless of what he may have been dealing with, he dominated. His teammates have trusted him this whole time that he's been shooting below levels that he would like to, and he was amazing in this game on offense. The Knicks, like with Mathurin, could not figure out who to routinely put on him and the other best Pacers players, and Haliburton made them pay for that. Plus 12 for him. He was huge. The other guy with a huge plus-minus who was massive in this game from an offensive perspective, 26 points for Miles Turner, a very quiet 26. And I would say a couple reasons for that. One is that compared to the outputs of Mathurin and Haliburton, 26 isn't just exploding off the page at you. Wow, 26 when two other guys had 35 plus. By the way, first time in regular season Pacers history, 2 guys have had 35 plus. I believe I saw that on Twitter after the game. Turner, the impact kind of came and went, I would say, for him. Much better in the second half than the first half, but had multiple stretches of the game where he had consecutive huge plays, whether it was threes, whether it was stops, whether it was rebounds, whatever it is. The guy he's matched up with is currently walking on the court about 10 feet away from me leaving. So that's what made Turner's game so important, is like early third, Knicks are up 6 or 7. He hits consecutive threes, suddenly the game's tied. And the Knicks went on a run after that, but guess what? Turner found a way to impact the game down the stretch of the quarter. And then again in the fourth, he had consecutive threes in meaningful moments. It was pretty clear that the Pacers tried to match Turner's minutes with Towns. They were 14 seconds apart in playing time, and the 14-second difference is equal for Enrique Freeman and Jericho Sims. They were 14 seconds apart in playing time. Freeman needed to play with Obi Toppin out, filled in just fine. 2 assists, 1 rebound, gave it his all out there. But Turner, Mathurin, Haliburton, huge game from that trio. They were 1 point away from a combined 100 points. I mean, that is just exceptional. Siakam, as he's been all season, rock solid with 14 and 8. Ben Shepherd defended his tail off despite not making shots until hitting a huge three in the fourth quarter. Everybody stepping up in a big way. And Jarris Walker's size on defense really mattered. His offensive night was not particularly good or at the level he would want, especially given that he had the game of his life in this building not too long ago, but was certainly massive on defense. He's very good at staying down on shot fakes, always has been, which makes him a pretty reliable choice to put on Jalen Brunson, especially for a young player. Of course, no one's going to stop or shut down Jalen Brunson. He had 33 points on 17 shots and was just flat out terrific once again. But Jarris Walker did as good as you can do, and his size was very important in that way. And of course, T.J. McConnell always helps. 3 assists, no turnovers, 6 points. Made half his shots. He was questionable with an illness. All that to say, the normal guys who they had available all stepped up and did something of value on a night where the Pacers were awesome from 3, 21-46, and got incredible play from their star guards to beat the Knicks. That looked like, again, when they win, maybe this is just what I'm saying, but looked like the Pacers of last year. They've won games where they did not look like the Pacers of last year. When they beat Detroit, they did not look like the Pacers of last year, for example, but they did tonight with the pace and with the guard play. Getting back to 500, weirdest stretch of 6 games now concluded for the Pacers. I mean, maybe it'll continue into their next opponents, but their last 6 games were Boston, New Orleans, Dallas, Orlando, Charlotte, New York. They beat the Knicks, Magic, Mavs, and Celtics and lost to the Pelicans and Hornets. Just so bizarre. So bizarre, but that's how this team's kind of acted the last 2 years. They earned this game with dominant play, and they got what they needed from the guys who had to step up with their absences. No Nesmith, no Nembhard, no Toppin, obviously no Jackson or Wiseman, so changing all sorts of who's available and who isn't from what they've had this season. Freeman in their rotation as the backup 5, filled in well. Johnny Furphy got rotation minutes again, second game in a row. His stint was short, only 4 minutes and 20 seconds, pulled in a rebound. And Quentin Jackson, over 10 minutes again, almost 12 for him, almost up to McConnell's minute level. Don't know if McConnell had not been sick or whatever, what that would have looked like, but Jackson made both of his shots, no turnovers, assists, or rebound. His speed at full speed is so impressive. They needed everything they got from those guys, right? All these guys who fill in that aren't expected to play a ton did a job tonight, and that's how the Pacers beat the Knicks by 11, their first double-digit win of the season. That's how they beat a team that crushed them earlier this year. That's how they got back on track. 5-5 now, much longer version of this discussion on Locked On Pacers with more insights on the Pacers win and much more. You can find me over there. Plus, on this channel, you can see Tom Thibodeau speaking pregame, some warm-ups, and some Pacers players after the game in their interviews. So plenty more to come. Thanks for watching.